I'll be your host, Emmanuel Eleyae, CEO and founder of Eleyae Systems, where we build systems that build brands online and help e-commerce entrepreneurs go from $10K a month to $100K a month to $1 million a month in revenue without wasting a fortune on ad spend or working themselves to death to do it, so that they can finally pay themselves what they deserve out of their business. We do this because we have built our own e-commerce brands. We've done over $50 million in revenue for our own brands and our clients' brands in our agency, and we're just getting started. These systems that we teach, they work, they are effective, they're repeatable, they're scalable. They've worked for our businesses, they've worked for our clients' businesses, and they'll work for your businesses too. Welcome to Eleyae Systems Podcast, Journey to an 8-Figure E-Commerce Business. In this episode, I'll be interviewing Kevan Smith, the founder of Epiphany Content. He has a passion for creativity and artistry, and he has been able to turn that passion into his profession. You'll hear him talk about the difficulties that come with creating content for clients and how he has developed his own techniques to avoid those difficulties, make it easier on himself. You'll also hear about his specific process for working with clients. His goal is to tell a story with his content that will resonate with people. He also goes in depth about how he distinguishes himself from other creators. He makes content that is unique, but still holds up to a high standard. You can tell just how passionate he is about his work and the things that he creates. I know you'll get a lot out of this conversation that I had with Kevan. So without further ado, here's Kevan Smith. Thank you for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, Emmanuel. I just wish I would have been in a position to meet with you earlier, but
That's okay.
yeah.
Being
just,
busy is a good thing, right?
Well, being busy, and I've just been making this transition into like an office environment.
Oh, okay.
So this is my first time having like a shared office or co-working space with a shared studio in the facilities here. So it's something I was waiting until the new year to do so. So it was really difficult to do anything business wise before I was in this stage of the business.
Has it panned out the way you wanted? Because it's one thing to like make a move and think about the move and plan the move. We always have a reason for making a move. And now here you are on the other side. You've made the move.
It has
Is it
far exceeded
Wow.
anything that I could have hoped for or expected. It's hard to even know where to begin. As a creative, this space, I didn't know that spaces like this existed. And so the canvas itself, I consider the business or the building a 7-floor canvas with a roof terrace and incredibly interesting, diverse areas, not just to be inspired, but to create and to generate narratives. And I feel like the environment has a huge part to play in communicating some of the, maybe the peripheral or even subconscious elements of any message or of any piece of content. So being in a place that facilitates such a range of narratives and at such an impeccably, incredibly high, just standard, it's just really freeing and empowering as with and the people are just fantastic. And so that combination, it's just been a shot in the arm. I'm really, really pleased with how things are working out.
What was it that you had before this, for some context here?
Well, see, I had 2 years ago, I had a home studio. I am, one of my benchmarks is kind of quality, is lighting. It's kind of some of the more technical, artistic elements that most creators gloss over. They kind of are more into either editing and transitions or graphics, but people don't spend time refining things like audio quality and the quality of light. And so in my home studio, I was able to really establish, very high-end recognizable brand recognition through my studio setup, which I then left, just over a year ago. And so I took on this project, was slightly unrelated to my core offerings. And so I thought that I could just, make it work without the studio, but without having an environment that was in line with my the recognition of my brand, my values, and the things that I need to facilitate creativity. I was really struggling for this past year. So now having a space that just far supersedes anything that I had before, it's incredibly rewarding. And it's definitely something that's been excellent for the business.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate the explanation. I can say, yeah, it was worth the wait, which is
Oh,
good
good, good,
news.
good.
Yeah.
No, yeah, yeah, definitely. I felt, you know, it means a lot to me that someone would even put my name forward to say that this
Yeah.
is someone that you should connect with and communicate with. And I was, yes, it was really unfortunate that timing. I was extremely ill actually in the
Oh,
first
no.
iteration when we first talked in early or mid December. I was really, really ill at the same time as moving, and so I was really unsettled that I wasn't able to to meet with you, especially after you said that you're happy, to
Mhm.
pay for my time. And so that says a lot about you. And so to me, it was very important
Yeah.
that we have this meeting, and that I help you however I can.
Yeah, it's, I tremendously respect it, and I respected you for even asking because I recognize especially on LinkedIn nowadays, which is what is disappointing me with LinkedIn, that they don't do something about this. There's a lot of just literally spam in the messages. People are connecting with you purely to spam you in the messages, and so I worry every day, how many genuine connections am I missing? Like genuine message, like my actual friends or colleagues or people that I would listen to, but there's so much noise now, I
Mm.
can't tell, "Oh, wait, is this a message from someone, some random person or somebody I actually know?" Sorry, not messages, but connection requests.
Yes.
Because 'Cause I'm so used to now just no, 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 because of all these appointment setters. I respected you for even putting up the boundary. Like, "Listen, I get it, you wanna meet, but time is valuable," and I respect that. So
Yeah. Thank you.
kudos to you, because it's also not easy. I'm sure it felt uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable to put up that
Anytime
boundary. Yeah.
when people, that's one of those things that I really look out for. Anytime someone says, if I can pick your brain, I've kind of learned over the years that it's not really something that's an investment in my time. So yeah,
And
I'm
you're
glad
right.
that we.
Yeah, because literally when someone says that, "Can I pick your brain?" It's one of the most selfish requests. And I had to learn that the hard way. I was like, why? I need to start changing this around my requests. And then, so that's why I now even at least send the questions ahead of time. So, and then say, "Hey, look, if you don't even want to meet, that's fine. Just reply. And then can I do anything for you?" Because it truly is one way. This idea of
Mm,
pick your brain conversation, or a coffee date, they call it, or a coffee lunch. It is purely one way. Like, why would I
yeah.
do that? You know? So, yeah, anything that, and again, if there's anything I can do for you, I'm an open book, so I don't know if there's anything I can offer, but as we talk, please probe me for things that I can help you with too. I'm open.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
I guess it'd be good to have a bit of an understanding
Sure.
of maybe your core offering, or like, what market do you serve?
Yeah, so really this is more of a blossoming, if you will, or a course correction. Call it a midlife crisis if you want to. But I was the opposite of creative for almost a 20-year career, right? And I'm just now rekindling this. So this all triggered because I went to a friend of mine who got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and he had what's called a death cafe where we sit around sipping coffee, talking about death. And the whole point of it is not to be concerned with death, because we're all going to be dying. We're all going to not be dying. We're all going to die. We're dying from the moment we're born. But it's what we do with life that really are the privilege that we have as humans. We're the only animals that know we're going to die. So I realized, wait, if I were given a 6-month sentence, would I be sitting here running Facebook ads? No, I would not. Would I be sitting here doing the things I did today, looking at and so it just completely changed my perspective. And I left there with this idea of, you know what, I've wanted to be creative. Like, I have this painting. I had an exercise one time. I put it on the wall because I remember sitting down trying to make that painting, and I felt so uncomfortable the whole time, but I also felt liberated. And the person that was with me, she painted that one below. I need to uncover that, but hers looked good. Mine looked awful. And all I did was judge myself, criticize myself. But when I looked back at the moment, she helped explain to me, but you were smiling the whole time. You had a good, I was in the zone. I was relaxed. And so I went to a painting lesson. And the lady said something that was so remarkably profound to me. She said, I asked her beautiful paintings that she made. She said, "I don't know what I'm going to paint when I sit down to paint." And I said, what do you mean by that? She said, I don't know. I let the brushes and the canvas and how I'm feeling just come out onto the canvas. And and I was just like, you don't have a plan? Like, me as a former military, MBA, like all these roles where I have to, every single moment of my day is structured. And it blew my mind that she can create something so, well, let's call it what it, commercially viable. It was professional. It was an excellent piece of work of art, came out of how I'm feeling. It shocked me. And then she said something else that was profound. She had me just do basically drills. She said, do a brushstroke, then do less water, and just keep doing this simple little brushstroke over and over and over, but do it with your left hand instead of your right. What it did, and I noticed literally time just like stopped as I was doing this. Said, well, it felt meditative. I was tapping into my subconscious, and I was like, I want this. I want this. If I could do what I've done here more in my life, if I could do it all day, I would be fulfilled. And that's when everything broke loose for me. I felt like I was creative. I remember in high school, even though I thought I was a business person, I started a business doing web design. But when I look back at it, I was really trying to be creative. It's just being a creative wasn't, how are you going to get a job with that, son? How are you going to get a job with that? Like, young man, like you can't survive. So it was just pushed down. So and I like writing. I like explaining it, as you can tell probably already. I love talking and speaking and teaching. So I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to be creative. And that's what triggered me to make the post that I made. And I asked for help. Hey, does anyone know people that are good at this, that'd be willing to just speak into me? Because honestly, as I look at a 40-year-old man and I'm sitting here like, I'm going to be creative. I have no clue what that means. I have no clue what to do. I have no clue what direction to take it. I also have responsibilities. I've got a business that I'm running and team that is doing something different, not entirely creative. I have a team of 12. 8 of them are creatives, video editors, designers, and we have the ability to shift to a video production company. And so I was like, I can actually probably even make a living doing this, where it's part of my job, where we're making videos and creative. So that's what I've been on this journey trying to figure out. But at its core, like I'm taking painting classes now. I'm going to film school to learn script writing and the filmmaking process. I'm doing the drawings and I'm doing copywriting and writing books. And I have ideas for all kinds of stuff. So I've just gone all in on this. Long-winded answer to your question, but hopefully that gives enough context to kind of pull from on where I'm at.
So who does your team, who do they serve, or who is your target kind of demographic?
Yeah. So right now, what we work for are e-commerce companies, because I started a e-commerce business back in 2013 with my sister that we scaled pretty big, and it does quite a bit. It's several $1 million a year in revenue. And then I peeled off to make an agency to help other brand owners and inventors and creators who have a physical product do the same thing we did. So I have an agency that helps them scale their brands. And our big catch is that we build systems that build brands online and help e-commerce brands go from $10K a month to $100K a month to $1 million a month in revenue without wasting a fortune on ad spend or working themselves to death to do it with our proven systems. So that's my big tagline that I use. So yeah, e-commerce entrepreneurs. So pretty much if they're selling on Shopify and use Klaviyo for email marketing, that's our perfect customer.
Well, then where does your current ambition fit in? Is that something that you're marrying the two, or?
Yes. So how I'm marrying is, so we have what's called ROI creatives now, and I can actually pull that up. What I was thinking is, in the process of building this agency, running Facebook ads, running Google ads, helping people with their website, helping people with their email marketing, I learned very quickly 2 years ago, I can't rely on the client to have content that works in a social environment or as an advertisement. It's a very different thing than taking product shots and making your brand look as good as possible. 2 very different things: marketing communication versus branded communication. So they would send me this content to use as an ad. That's just a picture, it'll be a gorgeous picture, but it's of a pot. And I'm like, people are going to swipe right by that. You spent 10 grand on this photo shoot and had all these models and all, but everything that you made content for was about you. And people don't go onto social media to learn about you. They go onto social media to laugh, to be entertained, to be inspired, right? To be educated. I need content like that. And they're like, I don't have that. So anyway, I was like, look, let me just send me what you have. We will mash that up into new content. And so I hired a team of editors and a team of creatives. And so we started building content. So then what I started looking at is people would leave us from doing email marketing, Facebook ads, Google ads, the marketing, but they would still keep our creative service. I didn't even have a service. They were like, look, can I just pay you to keep making us content? Because we would make them 30 pieces of creative every month. And that was the clue. So I built out this program called ROI Creatives, where I made it a standalone. So now what we'll do is we'll do content for people where we will take what they already have and turn it into social media creative graphics. So we'll take the boring stuff or the branded stuff and turn it into interesting, pithy content, right? That's where we were at. Then I took it one step further after this epiphany, and started this production studio where literally they were like, I don't even have branded content. I never did a photo shoot. So I brought it, one of our clients agreed, and she flew out, and I actually hired a director, I hired a DP, I hired a sound guy, and it was the most fun and scary experience at the same time because I've never done a production ever. And here I am with all these people that are asking me questions like, hey, how do we block this scene? And how I was like, scene? What's a scene? Right. And how do we bring this guy had a red camera and I'm sitting here and holding on to it. I didn't know how expensive the thing was. Oh my gosh, this is how much? Right. I'm learning on the fly as we go. Right. But either way, we got so much footage out of it. And I had such a good time. I was like, maybe that's how I can marry this. Because if I could do shoots every day, I would love my life nonstop. And then I have a team of editors. What I noticed was within a week, we turned around over 100 assets, right? Because I already have an editing team. So it's like we could almost real time be doing shoots and then editing. We also took product photos. We did interviews with her. We had a hair and makeup guy who worked on Whitney Houston back in the day. This guy's a professional. He came out because I'm in LA. So I've got a lot of these resources. So I was like, why don't I just marry the two? These e-commerce brands that need content. And, even UGC is a big thing. We can get all these UGC creators and all these studios and locations and film crew type people, just marry the two. And then I get to do my creative bit. And so then I took it a step further and said, hey, wait a second. What if I don't even have to? So that got tough. So I even flew out to Houston to interview someone, but it was very intense to do a shoot. I learned that the hard way over 2 months. I was like, oh, this takes a lot of time.
What about the strategy? Who's kind of tasked with the vision?
Vision of the shoot?
Yes. We were even just kind of pulling out, I guess maybe the core narrative, like what is important to the client, or how you're going to shape, their likeness.
That was the best part. We actually were already doing that as part of our normal course of, because we're a digital marketing agency, right? So we were already starting, and that was kind of my shtick. Is that, hey, we're going to do a production for you, but we're not a production house that's going to make the best quality story. Mm-hmm. We're a marketing agency. We're going to start with, you need Facebook ads, you need Google ads, you need this. So we started with that. And I actually created a document with my team that had a list of all the assets we wanted to build. So we worked from there back and said, okay, what are we going to build for the client that we need to market them? And then let's build a shot list and a script. We actually built a scripted day in the life kind of a shot. So when we actually had the shoot, there were 4 different locations, if you will, or scenes that we shot. One was a Vogue style 73 questions where we just interviewed her sitting down talking. Then we broke that set down, moved over to the kitchen and did a round table where we asked Q&A, and we had a studio audience and we actually Q&A asked them questions. And then we broke down that and went into the bathroom and recorded different things. So there's a Vogue style. Here's the interview style that we did. Then we also did a story. So this is her opening the bag, pouring the tea in, drinking it, then having her workout. Then we went from there to the bathroom and showed her getting into the tub, bath bomb, the whole 9, all in one day. And then we took her outside. This was the day before. Took her outside, did a glamorous perfume style shoot. So that was all slow motion footage and her just walking through the garden. We did that.
Who is she?
She is Tish. She's the head of, she runs a CBD bath bomb business. So she can't advertise. So she needed to do an organic strategy, need a lot of content. That's why she was open. Mm. So we came up with the strategy, but the only reason I'm over explaining is because I'm not entirely sure what you mean by strategy. You may be thinking something different than I am.
Well, I'm more, meaning what part of the team, like what, so seeing that you want to go on this journey of, focusing on creative, I'm wondering how much, I guess, your team, how much do you delegate, and how much of, the strategy, the vision, how much of that comes down to you? Or do you just kind of let your team more or less develop that side of things? Like what's your role?
That is a great question. Very insightful, because it's in flux. So, and that's actually literally something I ran head first, like something, hopefully if we get to talk again, you'll learn more about me. And I just burst into stuff when I'm like, I'm doing this. And so I'm having to step back and say, who's doing that? How are we doing that? And so it has seemed a little scattered. So we made all that content and it was overwhelming for the client. There was too much, right? So we made a ton of it. And so
did you have, let me stop you for a second. Did you have a vision of, was there a core narrative? And then maybe like, I guess as a marketing company, you probably would already have that in place, but like that we're going to have on this platform on this day, this message, and it's going to build up to either this product launch or tie back in so that after we inform, the audience and, build trust in a relationship, then we can get them to understand this critical component 4 weeks down the road. Like, did you have a roadmap laid out when you created this
No.
breadth of content?
And that's a good distinction because I actually deliberately did not do that because and honestly, I had a hypothesis that my goal was how much content I could make in the shortest amount of time. The idea is like, I call it ROI creatives. I was saying, what is the least amount of effort, time, and money we can put into something to get the most content? And by inverse, if we put a lot of time, money, and energy into it, what is the most amount of content we can generate? So I came up with this idea and as opposed to like you go to a production company and they make you one video for 15 grand. And I was like, I want to be the opposite. I want to make you thousands of videos for 15 grand was kind of my thought process. And so that was what I was trying to do. And you probably already know, I see the way you reacted and you probably already know where this leads. And it's just like, because of that, it ended up being a whole, like you can see all this content we made. Right. And we even scheduled it for her in a social media platform, but she ended up having the stuff. And it was, to your point, disjointed. It was kind of like, yes, you have a lot of content, but
That's one of the things that I've found is that, kind of giving a client a bunch of amazing content is more of a burden than an assistance because they've invested but they're not quite sure how to leverage it. What my understanding is that, the consensus that I came to, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago, was that clients need the results that content brings. They don't need the content. And so it's kind of my job to set a structure in place. And that's why I have to be really clear on what is success for this client, like what are they looking to achieve? And all of a sudden it's almost like it's my responsibility to facilitate attaining their goals and, seeing their vision come together, because they have other things to do, all the way down to you can create great content and post it for them. But a big part of it is the conversations that it generates. And clients don't typically have the time or the energy or the interest to even engage in the conversations that great content kind of facilitates. And so you almost have to, really like a small child, like protect them and think every possibility in a way that's going to not, hamper them at all. Otherwise, they're going to see this investment, as burdensome in a way, even though it's supposed to be empowering to them. Yeah, that's a big focus of mine. Yeah, with clients now is how can I put a structure together that is going to eliminate any constriction in terms of the things that incredibly adept at, or that they love about their business. How can I work with them in a way that we don't ever encroach upon the things that they love, but the things that they find easy in their business?
Floored by that, blown away. Thank you for saying that because you've crystallized what it took me months of beating my head against the wall to figure out. But in a way that, because, you hear that people say that, and that was why I was deliberately saying, no, focus, you need to focus. I was like, no, I want quantity over quality. I would actually say that. I want a lot of quantity and quality, good quality, and just give you a lot. You can have them, but I couldn't quite figure out why they would then not use it. Because even the second client, I flew all the way out to Houston. We did a whole bunch of stuff for him, had a 360 cam, drone footage, shoots. We interviewed the entire team, didn't use any of it. Built in landing pages. And so to your point, you're right. What is the result they're looking for and build towards that, which actually is liberating because it makes less work for me.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think you have to put in so much because it's not about the things that, you or I, are captivated by or inspired or intrigued by content wise. It's essentially everybody has someone that they're trying to, impress, or someone that they look up to, that they want validation from. And so this idealized version of themselves, and I mean, it could be a high school basketball coach, it's like, it doesn't have to be, like, I just want to be the biggest, best. I want to be Louis Vuitton, it's like, it's more about understanding, how this individual, wants to see themselves or their business represented. And it's usually, quite simple. And I find that, obviously status is always is going to be something that, people, aspire towards. And I don't believe that status comes through technology, or that it comes through like incredible editing and special effects. I think that if someone can communicate the things that they love in a beautiful light, with crystal clear, audio, this simple, refinement, at least my clients, people, these are my core values. So maybe these are the people that I look to work with, or who I resonate with. It's about simply building this consistency that reflects the one or two things that are really important to them. So some people, they do want to be flashy and they want that, Lamborghini, image. But I think that that's also, it's very simple, like a Lamborghini and a Rolex, and like attractive young people, like being impressed by them. But I don't think it has to be sprawling, but all of the content that's structured to come out over time has to reinforce that value, or whoever that person is secretly trying to live up to inside. And so to me, that's the strategy, is how to, craft content or craft an image that progressively builds towards, this person's ideal vision of themselves.
But in a way, isn't that doing something similar to what I did, just slightly different, where I came in with this idea of, I want to make you lots of content. You're coming into this idea, I want to make you look the best you can. So we are putting because what I heard you saying was, what is it they want? And where my immediate question was going to be is, like, if I ask them what they want, they're going to say the same thing: more money, more revenue. Give me something that's going to make sales. And I always wonder how to answer that. But it sounded like you're not necessarily asking what they want. You're pulling out from them a very specific thing.
I want to give my clients a lot of content. I want my clients, they have to be focused on what is the objective of this cycle of content. And depending on how much they want to show up online, some people want to do the Gary Vee thing and they want to, have 4 to 6 posts a day on 8 different channels. And if you want to do that, then fine. We'll put together a structure where we can go incredibly granular on this one kind of topic or one narrative. And we'll basically do a deep dive and then break down the nuance of that deep dive. It's all, for me, it starts with focus and clarity. And so that's why I say, like, the people are usually looking to personify a few ideals, just a few ideals. And so having a structure that says, over 6 weeks, we're going to reinforce these narratives or these ideals in this way, so that we come to this conclusion down the road. That's how it has to be for me. Otherwise, it's not targeted, it's not focused, and it's not objective driven. It's more like dazzle and awe, like kind of like I don't know, was that Desert Storm mentality, shock and awe or whatever.
Yep.
And it's just incredibly inefficient, and it's hard to get it on an accord like that, because like if you're giving them this range and this breadth of content, then they might not be feeling that or resonating with that tangent on this day. But if you really are you trying to live up to, who are you trying to impress? Like, what are you really trying to personify? And we're going to make sure that everything builds towards that strategically over the next month or 6 weeks. Because I think that's about as long as you really want to beat a single topic before you expand on it. And then you develop it to the next stage of whatever the objectives are. But everything has to build, and for me, towards that one thing that is, critical. So I've got a really succinct example.
Okay.
And it is, I'm going to have to read it on my screen here, but it says, So the proposal structure, we will strategically develop a long form piece of content that's broken down. So this topic is forward thinking tech pioneers will benefit from embracing diverse talent as a way of achieving sustainable growth ecosystems and expanding their market reach. Here's why, how, and what to do next. So for this client, he wants to connect or place talent in tech-driven, very specific sector in the tech sector. And so we're going to make a roadmap that encapsulates like why he's uniquely placed to solve this problem. What was the story of him gaining this experience? What mistakes did he find along the way? How do clients take and leverage his ability or his network or the people that he places? Why is it to their benefit to work with him over others? What's the very next step that they need to do once they realize that they are on an accord with him? So everything, all of his content over the next 6 weeks in some way or another will reinforce this objective of working with a very specific sector within the tech industry to place or niche kind of prospect. And it'll go towards his values of like, why does he gravitate towards this type of prospect, or why does he believe in them, or why does this type of prospect to benefit company culture? And that's why I say, you don't really want to necessarily go over 6 weeks on one point, because it gets to a point and it's like, okay, so like what's next? Okay, we get it. We're with you. Yeah. But in the interim, everything in some way or another will tie back in to his primary focus, which is delivering X product to this market over this timeline for this benefit.
Interesting. I'm wondering if you can confirm or deny if I'm understanding this correctly. It sounds to me that if I put it into marketing speak, it's basically you're building a campaign. Because when we create a campaign, it's like we're having a March, it's Valentine's Day now, but St. Patrick's Day is coming up, right? So for 3 weeks, we want to have the emails, the social media posts, the website banners, everything cohesive looking. And we build all these assets in advance so that they're consolidated for the campaign. Is that similar to what you're describing with content?
It's similar, but I would say that I approach things more so from the branding side of things.
Okay.
And so for me, it's all about building relationships, building trust, establishing a certain perceived value. And along that road, then people, they believe in, your product or services, what you have to offer. And so for me, I don't really have an interest in marketing a product. My interest is more in making people feel connected and feel like they believe, or like they're, like a fan or a supporter of, either this person or this business. And so it's all for me. I believe in relationship building. I believe in connection. And once people, if they feel you, like, I feel like as a Black American, growing up, this is like one of the next videos. I made a draft of it earlier, but like we grow up, and for us, like we keep it real, you don't fake the funk on a nasty dunk. That's what I was going to put. That's a line I'm going to use in my next video, but it's intrinsic to our upbringing. And so there's a certain passion that we have that we connect with. And it's like, you keep it base level, you keep it real.
That's right.
And I'm just straight up. And that's a very unique thing that we have to offer to clients, because if we can bring out that resonance, then people they feel my clients, because it's my objective is to get through the projection and get past, who you're trying, to purport, and get to who you are at that core, get to who you're really trying to live up to and why that's important to you. And like, if you can bring that out of a client, then whoever resonates with that, then they're going to benefit from what that person has to offer, because their resonance, And so I don't really look at it as a campaign or like pushing a product. For me, it's like finding a way to bring out what's at the core of a person, and that speaks for itself.
That sounds difficult.
Well, you have to have the techniques, like that's what I don't go into this. I don't go into this like we're going to use drones, we're going to use 360 cams. I go into it because like I'm a creative and I put so much time in because I love it. Like I love lighting, I love audio, I love storytelling, and I've used so many different techniques. And so when I work with a client, I go into it like okay, like ideally, this is how I would like to proceed, or the structure that I would like, but if it doesn't work, then I'm going to use this technique and I'm going to use that technique. And I'm really like flexible in terms of how we get to that point. But we'll get to that point. I'm going to bring it out of you because every time I, feel a client either projecting or slipping into this, like this role that they play or whatever, it's like, I'm sorry, yeah, pause, we have to find a way to get them out of their own way, essentially. And so like, I just got a lot of techniques for getting people out of their own way.
Can you do you mind sharing any? How do you do that?
One of the best is movement. So like, you're getting a person just to walk and, just getting them to walk and talk to the camera and just ramble and just ask them questions and, get the camera off axis, like while you just have a conversation. That's one of the easiest and one of the best. It almost always works is if you can just like get a person to not necessarily realize that the camera's on them and then just like speak from the heart, extended and be like, it doesn't matter. This is all just the camera's rolling, but we're not necessarily going to use it. And you get the most genuine, like representation. And then when a person, when they see, or they like, when you're able to show them like, see, this is the moment where you were true to yourself and you were impassioned. And just like, wow, like that sparked the fire. And then when once they see it, then they have a relationship with it and they're able to, it's like kindling, and they're able to build off of that. But it really starts off with like finding ways to get people out of their own way and to have a laugh and to not take it seriously. And then like, you create really transcendent, pieces of content.
I like that. Helps. That gives a whole opening to the idea that is get them comfortable, get them out of their heads, focus. And you're right. There's techniques for that. Just have them moving. Just, hey, the camera's is rolling, but don't worry about it. But what you're trying to do is get them to remove because I have seen this happen where as soon as the camera turns on, like you're sitting there laughing and you're joking, as soon as it turns on, they turn stiff and they immediately become, like you said, a projection. So that's
get them at an event. Get them at an event, with like a 200 millimeter lens. And then just have them like mic'd up with a lav and just engaging in conversations and such that they completely, like there's no camera anywhere around. Cause that's the best. It's always the best is when people are just in conversations with their shoulders down, talking about, the things that they believe in about their business. And so, and then that's it. Once a person, if you manage to capture that and you can show that back to them, then it's like, it just clicks. And all of a sudden they're just like, it's because it's not complicated, but we just have to get past like how we are projecting or expecting or wanting to see ourselves. And then once we see how beautiful it is, when we just like resonate with that passion in our core, then that's something that, people, it's indelible. It never go back. It's like always connected, to that.
I'm astounded because it sounds like you're doing more than just creating content. It's almost like, in a way, like therapy in a sense, or even,
That's why I kind of like my tag at the moment. My tag that I've been going with since December is content coach. And it's like, because I kind of like coach my clients on, how to personify, that what's at their core. And that's it. You very much so. It's very much so therapy and people that feel so empowered and like showing somebody how beautiful they are, and all of a sudden like when somebody see their depth and their passion for something and just how much it moves people, it's good. It's a good thing.
Gotta be rewarding to see that.
It is. I love that's something I love to do with people and to work with people, because people don't usually get that opportunity. And it takes trust. And so in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a gift, that you can give to people, because it's like, if you put your trust in me, then like, here, thank you for putting your trust in me. Now I want you to see how beautiful you are. Okay, you will something nobody could ever take away from you. You will always have that. And yeah, so
Wow. That's taken this whole being a creative thing to a whole nother level. Never even thought of. That's amazing. And thank you for sharing that with me. It's even more motivating to take it beyond the commercial purposes of, hey, it's a business transaction. We're making content. You pay me for the content, blah, 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 to I'm giving you a gift and you're putting trust in me. And we're creating something that helps you tap into you, more of you. It almost feels like a responsibility as well, too.
yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it as
Yeah.
well.
Taking
It's
care of
something,
people. You're being
yeah, it's
vulnerable.
important to me. Like if when I get quiet, yeah, but it's like I take it personal. It
Mhm.
matters to me, and it's like I want you to see yourself, like being as real and inspired, and also captured beautifully. I want your competitors, everybody else, that who's in your field, to see pure artistry and inspiration when they see you. And they'll know that that's something they can never compete with. So they're just going to have to go do something else. And so I think we've all got it. Like everybody's got something very unique, something that they are the best in the world at.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just like finding a way of pulling that out and showing it in beautiful light, captured, yeah, with excellent cinematography, and then it becomes transcendent. So
Mhm. Transcendent. Wow. I'm sure anybody would love to have that experience. Like just the way you describe it. That's amazing. A transcendent experience, tapping into yourself and personifying to your core who you are. You make it sound exciting. I
yeah, I
love
love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
believe in it, and I know the power of it. And just I know how liberating it is, even for me. Like I said, when I create content and I get an idea and I just do something just because I love it, or just because it's fun, or because it reflects me and it's gratifying,
Mhm.
and people, yeah, they'll be just like, wow, that guy, he's not full of it. He
Yeah.
actually, that way he actually loves what he does or believes in what he does, and it's like, yeah, you get connects, it binds. It's like
Right.
you're not like trying to convince people or put a wool over their eyes. Yeah, be true to yourself, and then people will see that and feel that, and yeah, you grow and connect.
Well, it almost seems like this is not a profession. Like I'd assume this was like your work, your job, your profession, but this almost feels like this is a passion for you, right?
Very much so. Yeah, very
Interesting.
very much so. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Well,
But
here's my
also, I'm very expensive.
let's not get it twisted. Still a valuable service. I get it.
I help people. I mean, I give, I do stuff for people for free, but,
Right.
like, yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, like, yeah, I charge.
The charge, yeah. But that was going to be my question is like, what happens when you turn your passion into your profession and how do you balance the two, right? Because ideally, if it's your passion, like you could do it for free, but you got to eat, right? You got to make a living. And how do you balance those two things? Because that was one of the things I thought, like, I'm over here making this painting, like I talked about, and that was fun. But then I had to go to work the next day, right? Because
Mhm.
I can't do that alone. At least I haven't figured out how to do that. So can you kind of describe how do you make both work? And then even there's some people who do make it their profession and they get paid to do it, but they're not paid a livable wage doing the creative, right? Or they get tired of they lose their passion because of the profession. Now it's a job, whereas before it was fun. So how do you work through all of those challenges?
Kind of like laser focus in terms of, who I am looking to work with. Yeah,
Mhm.
who I see as an ideal client. I think I've turned away way more clients in the past 6 months than I've taken on.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily just all about budget. And a lot of it is just like, I don't really want to do that. I said I could,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's not my passion. And then I'm, quite discerning in the same way that I even kind of pre-screen people with it's like, all right, well, you're gonna have to pay for my time if you want to, if you want a 30-minute Zoom call.
Mhm.
And yeah, I do a lot of research beforehand, and there has to be some kind of alignment in terms of values. Like this last like one I just took on, he yeah, like I'm a bit expensive for him. And I can make a model where I invest a little bit less time and still give him something that's going to elevate his brand. What made me want to work with him was his work ethic. He had a post about, yes, he's done these, I want to say it's called like I don't know, 70 Days Strong or something. I can't remember the
Oh,
name of the
75
challenge.
hard.
Yeah, 75 hard, yeah. And, but he's like detailing, all kind of like the stringent, kind of like parameters and guidelines that he's followed. And it's like, wow, I respect and admire that. And at the same time, you see his content and you can see the effort and that he is really looking to kind of maximize his potential. And he's not taking days off in a way. And it just seems to, just driven in a way that I really admire. And so it's a bit hesitant because I'm just like, I'm pretty sure his business isn't developed to a place where he can really afford me. But he, on the other hand, is just like, I'm going to, be willing to pay considerably more than I was hoping to, just because I believe in this journey that we're going on. And there's some compromise, but for the most part, I'm just quite discerning. And I tend to attract people who can afford me. And I can see people who can't, from far away. And it's like, if I feel charitable, I'll help them. But otherwise, I'm like, my life was hard, like I grew up hard. And so I'm just like, I'm not the most sympathetic person in the world.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I find it kind of easy to be like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm sure you're a nice person, but this is not worth my time.
Yeah. You just got to be honest, set those boundaries.
Yeah.
Because if you're worth it, you're worth it. There's no need to compromise. And then how do you convince them? So, or maybe not.
Ooh, I don't convince people.
I
Even this dude yesterday, I was telling him the prices and he was just like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm ready to, invest like that. Because I think that I probably could get there creating stuff on my mobile phone. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. You could get there creating stuff on your mobile phone. I have no doubt. You've got the work ethic and you're talented. Yeah, you can get there. It's just a question of efficiency. How fast do you want to get there? Because, when we start working together, you have to ask yourself, do you have the infrastructure in place to deal with the influx in terms of leads and business? So if you are postured, if you're positioned to deal with the attention that comes from distinguishing yourself, clarifying your message and establishing yourself, like with a really high value kind of resonance, if you're positioned to deal with that, then I think that it would be inefficient for you. I didn't even tell her. I think it was like, you have to make that decision for yourself. If you're in that position, then, like here we are. But if you're not in that position, then you should do it on your phone, because you can achieve doing it on your phone. I don't convince people. I don't do sales. Like, people just inbox me and they want to work with me already. Like, people don't inbox me because they want me to sell to them.
Interesting.
I don't sell.
But somehow they've heard of you. So how are you positioning?
Because they see me.
Okay. So you're doing things.
Well, they see me on LinkedIn. Yeah. I create content and they recognize in the same way that it's like the clarity of your microphone. It's instantly recognizable that you're at a standard and that you're not playing around. I incorporate those elements into the content that I create. I only use the best equipment. And I maximize the potential of it. It's like I bought a red camera for a project last year, just because to me that last 2 to 3% difference is, and it's not about the equipment, but if you understand, then people will be like, oh wow, there's something in there, something about it. And so the content that I create, all the way down to the copy that I write, it's like I don't do generic stuff. Yeah, and that really resonates with my target audience.
Interesting. So it almost is like, I'm loving how it all reinforces itself. So you have your passion that you put into your craft, then you literally just share your craft, and then people see that it's elevated and they come to you asking you for the bit. Like it's all
fun, Yeah, I'm having fun the whole time. But I crack myself up. Like, I love it. I love the whole creative process and the conversations that it starts. So I love it when people get it, like when they get my little jokes or like, I know the joie de vivre, just like how much I delight in communicating and getting a message across clearly. There's something that's for me, like when you very succinctly able to share a message that someone else can glean. That's one of the most rewarding things in life. It's like my content is based on that.
And so I love that. So you're having fun. The client is having a good time because they're, like you said earlier, they're getting to their core self. You're showing them a different side of themselves. But now you're talking to someone who's interested in working with you. Maybe the word isn't convincing them. Maybe the word is communicating them. How do you communicate to them and earn that trust that you actually can elevate them beyond what they could do themselves or with another agency? How do you communicate that, yeah, I'm the person that can elevate you?
I don't know. I don't find that I don't feel like I've ever had to communicate that. People just know like what I do is quite different, you know, like you look at all my videos and, you know, like they're just not like anything other people are doing, but they're to a standard. That's something that people really gravitate towards. It's like, it's unique, but it's also refined.
And what I'm hearing from that is basically be unique. Like it is okay. You don't want to make cookie cutter stuff for people because then you almost, it's like a signature and it's at a high standard. So being unique and being at an elevated level, people can
incorporating artistry. I think like that's why I go back to like the quality of light, the quality of sound. I'm not about a whole bunch of graphics and transitions. I don't think that's necessarily bad, but I think that's used to mask a lack of artistry. And so I shared a post today of this little video about this guy, David Cole. He's a local photographer and he must be about 60. And so he's like an old school photographer. And I saw a post of his that only got 2 likes and I was one of them. In this post, he had maybe either 9 or 12 different subjects that he posed for headshots. And I could see how just impeccably posed they were. And I know, like, I started off as a photographer, I know how challenging it is to work with subjects to do posing. And he had a variety of posing, and his posing, there was an artistry in it. It's just very masterful. And so instantly I'm just like, look, this is not somebody trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. He's crafting his image in the style of the old masters. And so that's again, this transcendent, you know, it's infinite, you know, like artistry. If it's, as long as that's I really, things that I create are predicated on artistry. So like composition, and that's why you say you go into film school. Like, yeah, that's super fantastic because they're tried and true techniques, both in terms of storytelling, lighting, composition, ratios. The right lighting ratios will just make your heart flutter. I mean, it's an artistry, and you just have to feel it and understand the nuance. And it's something that I incorporate. So people, they're not quite sure why, but they're just like, it's a certain beauty in what you do, and I want to be a part of it.
It even shows through even just how you present yourself here. Like you mentioned my mic, but I immediately noticed when you came on Zoom, okay, this is different. Your color, your look. How do you mind describing your setup? Like, how do you get your Zoom to look so good?
Yeah, this is now you're making me up. Foremost, I use a DSLR, or I use a mirrorless camera.
Which one?
So yeah, this one is an R5, Canon R5.
Canon R5, okay.
So I'm using a mirrorless camera with a prime lens.
Right.
So yeah, I'm using a 1.4, 24 millimeter prime lens. And so the image quality is impeccable. I've got a neutral density filter on it so that I can open it up all the way and shoot it at 1.4, but it gives that slight blurriness in the background or whatever. It makes me the central focus, and it knocks down the light, the ambient light in the room, so that it's like a stop lower than my key light, which I've got a softbox head with a grid on it. And so it's not like spreading light all out and butchering it. So it's just like I'm softly lit by light, you know, that's just like, a 1.5 feet, 2 foot away from me.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm just using lighting techniques with superior optics. And I've got this, I'm using a teleprompter. I've got a teleprompter. So you're actually on a screen down here, but it's reflecting up so that I'm looking directly into the lens of the camera. And so like all of these little elements together, it's like a little wow package, you know, because you're not going to see this in any other Zoom calls. You're just not going to see it because there's very few people who take Zoom calls who are like so adept at photography and lighting. It's just like it pretty much doesn't happen. Right. So yeah, you distinguish yourself, and this is like my way of distinguishing myself. So let me tell everybody that I was recording this joint. It's IP. Yeah, that part is between us.
Yeah, I'll keep it between us. Dang it! I was gonna say that is a gem right there because I've not heard anyone talk about that teleprompter trick. But is it okay if I use the technique?
Yeah. You good, your fam, you know.
We're good. You and me, we good. Like, because that's
very few people are going to go through the trouble of it either. You know, it's just, I guess, it's cumbersome. It took me 45 minutes to set it up. You know, like I'm in this office, and I've got a whole lighting kit here, like C stand, a super powerful light. I mean, I've got my podcast mic here, you know, so I could, you know, be speaking like you, but at the moment I'm just going with this little mic here clipped on my shirt. So yeah, you put it in the trouble, you put it in the effort, but it's like the devil's in the detail. That's what I was saying about that red camera, getting that last year. It's that last 2 or 3%. And then people are just like, wow, I've not seen that before. And it's indelible. And that's how I approach my projects. And yeah, that's what I want for my clients. You know, like I don't want good enough for my clients. I want my clients to have a likeness that like no one has seen and that nobody can compete with.
You're motivating me because I went gearhead for a while. I was like, oh, I'm going to be like, I'm going to upgrade my stuff. But I went the opposite route of artistry and went the gearhead route. And like, let me get this. Like I have my little Sony ZV-E10 and I got my Canon 80D over there and I got the 120D aperture light over there. And I went that route for a while. And it was just like, this didn't feel right. Right. But now hearing what you've said about the artistry piece and elevating how you look and doing that last 2%, you're motivating me now to actually, all right, and let me piece this together to where it actually makes sense. Because what happened is I got burnt out. I got burnt out on that. Like it's just, you can just because you have the gear doesn't mean you can achieve the look. You can achieve the artistry. You can get the content. And that's where I was like, it's actually the skills and the passion that matter more than the gear. The gear will just sit in the closet and you can get more out of, you may as well just use your phone. Like that guy you were talking about, just use your phone. You know,
at the moment, I'm just editing this lighting tutorial I shot that I filmed last week, and that is the way to really distinguish yourself is to put in the effort in understanding the nuances of lighting, and if you can take that like into like with your clients. Then if you can combine lighting with an understanding of like cinematography or optics, that's something that I think that once you see it, and then color grading, color grading is very important as well. But yeah, once you start seeing just true refinement, when you nail it, I mentioned this thing in my tutorial about how I had this idea because I like using backlighting with the sun, with filters and the lights. And it's just light. It's a look that you almost just never get outside of films. And I had this idea, it's like, oh, I'm going to use the sun as a backlight. And I set it up and then did these photos and nailed it exactly what I had like in my vision. And not just that, but I intuitively had all my settings on the lights right because I've worked on it so much over the years that I understand the ratios and the time of day and the angle of the sun and the power of the light that I was using. And so I was just as much thrilled, like by this fact that it's like, oh, wow, I intuitively nailed all my settings as I was that the photo, that the image came out exactly how I envisioned it.
Yeah, that's mastery.
I really came to a point. I put some time in, so yes.
Well, and that's how it's built is like the whole 10,000 hour rule. Like you wouldn't have been able to do that 10 years ago, maybe, or 20 years. It's all the experiences led up to it. Because I hear that happen a lot where artists will have a vision in their mind, but just can't quite get it out. And so it requires the skill set and the experience in order to be able to not just have the vision and the idea, also execute on it. And that's the mastery piece.
Yeah, I've got to get out here, but before I bounce, this post that I put up must have been yesterday. Oh yeah, because I've got this new, it's not even a passion. It's almost like an obsession. But design, to me, I wish I would have studied design, graphic design instead of photography, because graphic design is true magic, is true beauty to me. And so I saw this post that was saying where you are now as a result of, the work that you put in 10 years ago and where you will be 10 years from now is a result of what you're putting in, today. And so like, I became very obsessed with, of doing, in Adobe Illustrator, making a graphic design layout to make carousel posts. I don't know if you know what carousel posts are on LinkedIn, but so I've become like obsessed, with like, oh, I have to make one that looks like it was made by a proper designer. And I've studied Illustrator for years. I've done tutorials, but I could never quite wrap my head around it. And then all of a sudden like I've become so inspired, like over the weekend. And then I just sat there and just like put in the hours, 10 hours, 10 hours, 10 hours. And all of a sudden I nailed it, and it's like, I
Wow.
got it.
I
And,
can't wait to see it.
it's, it's just such I don't know, it's rewarding. But yeah, it started as a bit of an obsession. You
Yeah.
become obsessed with little elements of
Mhm.
refinement. And it's like 10 years from now, I am going to be an amazing designer who can couple that with, cinematography and lighting and photography and all the rest.
Nice.
So
So you mean it's not good enough to just take screenshots of tweets and put the
you can make a lot of money doing that. I don't know how much you'll love yourself for what you've, achieved by doing
Uh-huh.
so. I don't know how
Right.
gratifying or rewarding it'll be, but yeah, it's a means to an end, if that's like, as if that's why you in the game. But I'm like, I just have to be, I have to impress myself. I have to love what I do and why I do it and what's the product is. Otherwise, I'm not going to be like happy.
Right. And can I ask one last question? I'd just
Yeah.
love to know your story because you mentioned, I thought you were in the UK, but you mentioned being a
Uh,
Black American and that growing up in a certain way. And I just realized you're way more complex than immediately I'd
yeah.
imagined. So I'd
I
love to
grew
know,
up on
like,
a
how,
farm, man. I grew
really?
up on a
What?
farm and just outside of Little Rock. Yeah, I grew up like I was in the 1800s, like wood burning stove, and we were
Wow.
out in the hay fields getting hay for the cows. Like I worked, from the time that I was like 4 or 5 years old, was back up, carry something. And we fed our whole family. Like my grandfather, he had, I'll say like 15 kids, and so,
Wow.
yeah, we fed, like droves of people, from the farm in this old world style. And, but then I was a bit clever. So I got a scholarship to go to uni, in Chicago. And, down the road, I ended up, marrying this Norwegian girl. So that's why I live in the UK now. Cause like, we moved here 17 years ago. And, so yeah, this is home, but in my heart, I'm a country boy from Arkansas.
Wow. Out in the UK.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Good. Well, man, I so appreciate it. I'm so glad for your time. I thank you. Hopefully you got a little something out of it too, but I got a ton. I got a whole page of
Oh,
notes.
good.
I'm
Yeah,
so
good, good,
grateful.
good. Yeah, no, so I enjoyed it. It's good to chop it up. And so I took it personal, when I said that I
Yeah.
would speak with you. And so it's important that we got a chance to connect. So it's been
Love it.
rewarding, and it's nice to get your thoughts out as well.
Yeah.
So it's been rewarding for me as well.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, my pleasure. So all right, well, I
Well,
mean, I'm
good.
here, so drop me out anytime, and
I will.
so yeah.
I was actually going to ask that if that's okay. Can I keep you updated on my progress? How I'm
Yeah,
doing? We're
yeah,
going to
please
see.
do. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I feel invested now.
No.
So if you have any questions, like if there's something I can help you with along the way, I'm more than happy to help. Because
Wonderful.
I appreciate your why.
Yeah.
I think it's quite beautiful. It comes from a place of inspiration and
Yeah.
the fragility of life. Very very genuine. And also impressed by your success. It's nice to
Oh,
connect with people. Who've done some things, and
oh, I'm
admirable, man.
flattered. Thank you so much. I'm flat. Oh, I noticed one other thing about your setup. You have your Apple Pencil. Are you also
Yeah.
able to take notes or something?
Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah. So I've got good notes here.
okay.
And I love good notes. I love taking notes. Yeah, I like information and like structuring it.
And you can handwrite. So I need to get that. And does it do good job transcribing, like actually taking your
That's
notes?
beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it has an option to take handwritten notes and then just turn it into typed
Yeah.
characters or whatever else. But yeah, I love the Apple Pencil with my little good notes. I got an awesome system.
Yeah.
Yeah, something I'm looking to productize,
Mhm.
here over the next 6 months. My content structuring pipeline kind of delivery system. I'm not really at a point where I can like share it because
Sure.
it's so dope. It's so dope.
Okay. Well,
But
if
I
you
kind of
need a
was,
marketing agency at some point to help you, advise you, oh, we're here.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I definitely will. I think I can envision that.
But I
Yeah, I think
interrupted you. What were you going to say about the process? I'm so sorry I interrupted you.
well, it's just based on taking it kind of goes back to what I was saying before about taking a core focus and then like structuring a way of supporting. It's kind of based on pillars, like just like how do you build pillars that prop up, what's at the very top, what
Yeah.
the ultimate goal is, And then how do you like make it visual and something that a client can instantly see and automate essentially, so that it doesn't encumber them. I think it's important to have a system and to be able to show clients, you know, just like, this is how we're going to walk you through to this ultimate goal or reality or whatever. So
I love it. Well, I can't wait till that comes out. I'll be your first customer.
yeah, nice. Well,
So
yeah,
thank you. Yes, I'll keep you posted, especially on that idea. You really resonated with me, this idea of the passion and artistry and creation. Like that to me really, and I'll definitely keep you updated on how I'm leveraging that, because I'm obviously going to stumble as I'll figure it out, but I'm looking forward to and if you could send me that post you said there was a guy where you could you made a post, you recognized that the way he was posing, there was something unique about it. I would love to see that. Oh, you said you posted it, so I can find it if I go to your LinkedIn.
yeah. It's if you go to my post, it's like my latest post on LinkedIn, and I've got that carousel as well. The one where I was
carousel.
so excited about actually making something that looked, you know, halfway aesthetic. It's not far from perfect, but yeah, from where I was a week ago, I'm very, very pleased with my
nice. I'll look at both of those, and I also loved the one one I just saw. Anyway, was your redoing your portfolio post, and I could see there was a style. Everyone was walking, and it caught me when you talked about movement. It's like,
yeah,
that must be what he's talking about with his uniqueness.
yeah, that's part of it. I mean, but not. So I'll take one person and shoot them in 4 or 5 different styles, including an interview, off axis. I'll be walking, talking, like, yeah, if you have a look, you'll see like, you know, 5 or 6 different styles of working with a client. And it's something that I think, at least for me, the way that I create, it's critical. Like, yeah, we cannot just sit here and like have you in a studio just talking, you know, like we got to break it up and show different elements of you. Cause that's how you build trust, is showing the full picture, you know, 360. So whatever it takes to get all that perspective.
And what do you mean by off axis? Is that where it's kind of shaky cam?
No, I say off axis, just like third person, you know, like, so say you are talking directly to them, but the camera is off axis, like observing them, having a conversation with you.
Oh, okay. So it's not direct eye contact into the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a B-roll third, behind the scenes BTS kind of thing.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
A bit. Okay. Not quite BTS, because BTS would be both of us, the interview and the equipment, but you're saying you're just kind of off, looking at them as they talk to someone else.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure there's more to it.
Yeah. There's so much to it. Yeah.
I know, right? Which, yeah, I would love to do this again at some point. I don't want to be presumptuous, but
I'll keep you charge you.
I know, right? Yeah. Next for sure. It's good advice. Yeah. So thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. Anything you wanted to ask me or any other questions? Yeah.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good for now. I'm supposed to go meet a friend now.
Okay. Let me let you go. Thank you.
Yeah,
for
it's
your
all
time,
good.
sir.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah, we'll speak again.
Pleasure talking to you.
Have a go now. Take it now.
Bye. That's it for another episode of the Eleyae Systems Journey to an 8-Figure E-Commerce Business podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please leave us a review. It costs you nothing and gives me and the folks who worked hard to produce this episode great feedback on how this content helped you. And that's why we do this, to make sure that you get to that 8-figure business even faster than we did. So tell us how we're doing. And please, please, please leave us a review. And if you know of another e-commerce entrepreneur who could benefit from hearing this content, please share it with them. They'll thank you for it. I'm your host, Emmanuel Eleyae, and we'll see you in the next episode.